Happy Thursday, Locked On Women's Basketball listeners. I'm Gigi Speer, and today I'm joined by someone who knows way more about the game than I do. Experience playing in the W, getting drafted, playing overseas, playing at the highest level in college. Locked On Women's Basketball starts right now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is your daily podcast on women's basketball. I'm so happy you're joining me today. I can't even wait to introduce this guest. Today's episode is presented to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And also, if you need any other women's basketball coverage, head over to thenexthoops.com. We have articles coming out. I love reading them. And if you need some social media basketball coverage, head over to the Next Hoops too. All right, that's enough of the plugging. Guys, I'm going to introduce our guest, Kianna Smith. Wow, number 1 overall pick in the Women's Korean Basketball League, an all-star, the number 16 overall pick back in 2022, drafted by the LA Sparks. She's coming off a birthday celebration. I have to say happy birthday on June 10th. And she's the co-host of the She's Always On podcast with Idona Thaki, a previous guest. Kianna, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
All right, great. I mean, I'm excited too. I there's so many places I feel like we could begin. And I love having the perspective of a player on this podcast. So real quick, I just want to check in with you. I know our listeners are fans of women's basketball. Is there any moment you feel like we need to address as people who you're now covering the league and you used to play? Are there any storylines that stand out? And if we're too tired of the Olympic narrative or anything like that, that's fine and we can move on. But anything that comes to your mind that you feel like we need to talk about a little bit more?
No, I mean, I think the big thing around the WNBA right now is that we need to cover the WNBA for what it is. And that is just the amazing athletes, how great, how talented they are. And maybe not so much all of the concerning narratives around the league. I know people are like, this is the publicity you guys wanted. Like, you guys wanted eyes, here you go. But, you know, we want to be recognized for how hard we work, the talent that we produce on the floor, just the same way that any other sport is consumed. So I hope that the WNBA can be consumed that way in the coming future, but I know that this year might be a year of just a bunch of drama and coming from also all that excitement from the league. But hopefully we can get to a point where the WNBA is just basketball and, you know, you have those fun storylines between the physicality of each other and all that.
I love that. I think that's amazing. And I mean, man, you're a hooper too. You're a hooper. Can we dive in? I want to kind of start as much from the beginning as we can. I know you come from a basketball family, but you've had to put in a lot of work over the years to get to the point where you're at now. So can you just dive into a little bit more about that process? And I mean, McDonald's All-American 2017, what led up to that point even?
Yeah, it's crazy because even though I was a part of a basketball family, my dad's been coaching on the men's side for the longest time. My uncle's an assistant coach in the WNBA. So I've always been around the game, but I just didn't like the sport until middle school, like towards high school, really. I started to play volleyball. I fell in love with volleyball and then played both in high school. And up until that point, I was going to school in Riverside, and my sophomore year, I was like the MVP in both volleyball, both basketball. So I was just like, I don't know what I want to choose, what route I want to go. But I don't know really what led me to choose basketball, but I just chose basketball. I'm thinking like, I don't know, maybe I could get a scholarship in this, you know, more than I would in volleyball. So I chose basketball, and my high school team at the time just wasn't cutting it. Like, we weren't that talented. There wasn't many eyes on us. And I had a lot of great guidance at the time to tell me, okay, I think it's time to shift to another school, which is really hard because obviously in high school you care about your friends and, you know, all of that, all of the other nonsense. So it was hard, but I ended up transferring to a school an hour away from my hometown. So every day, me and my dad would drive in, and it was across the street from my dad's college. So he was already commuting, but I would drive in every day with him. And because he was a college coach, they would be out recruiting or on the road for a game, and I would have to take the train in to school,
Mhm.
and my friend would pick me up. And so there was a lot of sacrifices I felt like I made to go to this school, but it really paid off. The eyes got on me once I went to that school. My high school coach there, Coach Anderson, he put us in these big tournaments so that the McDonald scouts could see me, and I'm just
Mm.
grateful for him because the McDonald's games was something that I cherish, and I'm proud to say that I was a part of.
And you were the first at Troy High School to be in those games
Yeah,
too.
it
So,
was.
I mean, you came into somewhat of a winning culture. Like they had a lot of success in the early 2000s, right? But you coming in, was it, you're not only betting on yourself and having to literally go out of your way to get there, you're also having to break the mold of what culture already existed there in a way, right?
Yeah, for sure. There was plenty of talented girls that came through, and I think any of them could have been McDonald's All-Americans at any point. It just happened to be me, being the first, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to do that for the school.
And so also when you're driving in with Pops and he's a coach too, I got to imagine he's like, let's leave a little bit earlier. Let's hit the gym. Were there mornings like that?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was really good about just keeping things separate. Like I'm a basketball coach, but I'm your dad first. So he tried to like leave it up to me, but thankfully I was very passionate about wanting to get better every single day. And I had so much time to spare. Like after school and after practice, my dad was still in there with their practice and recruiting and all the stuff that they had to do. So I would just go across the street to their gym and get up shots in the gun, watch their practice. And I think that really helped my IQ of the game and helped my shooting ability.
So when you were at the gun, was it like I want to make a certain amount of shots, or I'm gonna take a certain amount and I want this percentage? What was the
Oh yeah, no,
mentality?
it was making shots. It was
Yeah.
making shots. And a lot of the times it was like 500 a day. Like it was a checkbox. I had to get this many shots, make this many shots before I
Mhm.
left. And yeah, I was super, super driven
Mhm.
at that time.
I played high school basketball. I also played volleyball. I love to. But I remember shooting on the gun. I felt like the worst day I was having was when the ball would get stuck
Oh
in.
my
And
no,
you
it's
have to be so mentally strong in those moments
right.
and not freak out.
It's the ball getting stuck and then you shoot and miss and it bounces to the all outside the gun to the other side of the court. Like the gun is the best and the worst machine in the world.
It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. Guys, those 500 shots led to so much for Kianna's career. We're going to talk about all the success you've had in college, playing at the professional level after this break, because we're going to give some love to our sponsors. So stay tuned. More amazing basketball talk coming up after this. Like I mentioned before, today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. And guys, I know we're talking about WNBA, and there's so many games that I want to go to. Like if I could go to the Aces Mercury matchup tonight, I would love to. Even if I could go to the NBA Finals, Game 4, a sweep by the Celtics, I would love to go. Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. So I might have a chance to go see the Aces and Mercury tonight. Who knows? I love so much how Game Time makes it so easy. And I can even find last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals. I could even see all seats in the venue. So it just makes it so helpful when I want to get a panoramic view from my seat in the app before I buy. So I know what I'm getting myself into if there's a poll in the way. Guys, do it now. Do yourselves a favor. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, all right. So Kianna, we're gonna get back into it. So you're putting up the shots, McDonald's All-American. You guys have that success, and then you also do kind of something a little bit similar in college where you end up transferring.
Yeah.
So what was that process like, and what was it like to bet on yourself and go to what was the number one team at that time?
Yeah, it was really hard decision because at that time the transfer rules were different. So people can't just transfer and go play. Like I had to transfer and sit out a whole year.
Mhm.
So I was really debating if I wanted to, if this was the right move for me, but I felt like if I wanted to be a pro, I needed to go to a program that produced pros and knew how to use pros and play and get them better.
Mhm.
So I was like, this is the right decision for me. And my mom would always say, you know, like the second option was better for you last time. So maybe this time will work out. Like, and I was like, you know what? You're right. So when I hit the transfer portal, Coach Walls called me right away. And obviously I was recruited by a ton of different schools, but Coach Walls was Louisville was my first visit, and I committed on the visit.
Wow.
Yeah.
It must have all clicked in that moment then, because that's not a feeling you can make up. It's a certain, when you get on campus and it seems right and you know you're going to dive in. Was there something that stood out besides the winning culture that made you want to make that
Yeah.
jump?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of coaches kind of have a formula that they use, and they're like, I'm going to get players that fit my system. Coach
Mhm.
Walls is a type of coach that he gets talented players and knows how to make a system to fit his players so that they're
Mhm.
successful every single year. So a lot of his successful teams, he went to the Final Four 4 times, and all of them looked different. And all of them had people that he got drafted. So
Wow.
I was like, he knows how to coach. He knows how to get players better. And he told me, like, if you come here, we'll go to the Final Four and I'm going to get you drafted. And that's what we did.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So did he help you in the way, you're a great shooter, great at shooting the three? Was that something that he helped you and created a system, or at least modified the system
Yeah.
around so you could get more opportunities from deep?
Yeah, not necessarily. I think it had nothing to do with my skill set. I had all the skill set to get to that next level. I think what he brought out of me was how to be a pro that I just did not understand. Like my
Mm.
first year there, I was struggling. Like he was coaching me so hard, and I was like, I don't understand what you mean. Like he's like, you're soft, you're not playing hard enough. And I'm thinking like, I'm throwing my body out there. I'm playing as hard as I can. But his expectation is like through the roof. And if you're not playing up to that expectation, like he's going to pull it out of you. And he did that for me. And that's what I think brought me to that pro level. It wasn't necessarily my skill. I think I was always a great shooter. I had the IQ, but it was how to prepare, how to get, how to read the game and stuff like that, that he definitely taught me.
And I know that when you guys start winning and you win at the highest level, you have an Elite 8 spot in 2021, Final Four spot 2022. That's a certain achievement that no one can take away from you, is like how to act like a winner and show up like a winner every day. Was that something that you felt like has lasted you throughout your career, is showing up in the way where we're like, we could play whoever right now, give us any matchup?
100%. And I think like what they emphasized at Louisville was so much in the details of things that I didn't realize. And I think that has applied to the way I look at life and everything, about how much the details matter if you want to be great at something.
Mhm.
So like we would be in help, and if we weren't 3 steps over, we would get yelled at. Like, you're not in help. You're not in help. And I'm thinking like, I'm in help. Like, no, take 3, it's the little things. It's the, those really minute details that made us great. And I think that I've just applied that to every aspect of my life. And in terms of like, for example, on my podcast, like it's the little details that is going to take it over the top. Like you can't half-ass anything. And I feel like I've applied that into every aspect of my life.
Wow. I mean, that's so inspirational too. And then, so you're also playing with winners. You're co-captains with Dana Evans at Louisville. And when you make your debut, I hope you know this. So you make your debut, I think you were like sick the first couple days, and then you come in season high 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists versus DePaul. And then this amazed me because when you made your debut for the WKBL, your debut was also 21 points.
That's so crazy.
So you do you feel like you have a quality inherent in you that's like, when it's time for me to go, I am going to go full throttle in a way?
Yeah, I think as an athlete, your adrenaline takes over a little bit. Like at Louisville, I sat out that whole first year, and then I was so excited about that first game at Louisville. I'm like, let's go, I'm ready. And I get COVID. So like I'm crying. I'm like, what the hell? Like this sucks. So and they're obviously during around that time, like COVID was really big deal. And they're like, you need to sit down because your heart, da, da, da. I'm in the room like dribbling in my quarantine room. Like I have to be ready because DePaul's game was on ESPN. And I'm like, I'm not gonna embarrass myself. Like, you know. So we show up for that game, and like the first possession I get in, I shoot an air ball over the basket.
No.
Yeah. And it's funny because my mom tells the story. She had the game on in her work office, and I shoot an air ball, and she's like, turn it off. Everyone get back to work. Like,
No.
like I think that adrenaline just takes over, like that excitement. And when you have those moments of just like, I'm so ready to play, you just in that zone, in a flow where you don't even think about anything. It's just basketball. It's all the preparation that you put in up into that point just comes out onto the floor. So I think that's really what takes it over in those moments.
Wow. Yes. And what was it like to come in? I mean, I'm so happy the transfer rules are different now, but it's kind of crazy. Like you do deserve some back pay in a way because people don't have to sit out an entire season. Yeah. You chose to be on the scout team, or was that kind of like just the natural thing they told you would be?
I mean, it's sort of the natural thing to do. But yeah, I definitely took it upon myself to own it and to be like, I'm going to try to kill my teammates in practice every single day. Like Dana Evans, Jazz Jones, Kylie Shook, like they're great defenders. And I'm like, if I could learn how to play against them, score efficiently against them, it's going to be so easy when my time comes. So, and it's nice because in practice, it's like, I can make as many mistakes. Like it's practice. I didn't have to, I could work on things. Me and our assistant coach, Coach Purcell, we would do a skills workout before. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just try going all left today in practice. And, sometimes I end up being the lefty in the scout, or the shooter in the scout, or the driver in the scout. So I had to work on a bunch of different things. And I think it really elevated my game that season.
There's so much more we got to talk about your experience. We haven't even gotten into what it was like to be drafted. And then we're also going to talk about WNBA matchups tonight. So guys, stay tuned. More Locked On Women's Basketball after this. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. With Prize Picks, you could turn a $10 bet into $1,000 in every single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, stats projections that you're locked in. And also, when the finals are over, the hoops action doesn't stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is just getting started. We know this with young stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves alongside the greats like Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson. You could win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. So tonight we're going to get into, I'm going to say, if I had to put a projection out there, I would say Angel Reese, double-double. I'd say more or less 10 rebounds, 12 points. And I want to see if people would go up and down on that. And you could do that on Prize Picks. Also, we could go over for the Phoenix Mercury game versus the Aces, A'ja Wilson, 25-plus points again. I can't believe we're getting used to that. And I would say over 5 steals tonight. And you guys could go plus or minus that on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. It is also, I want you guys to know for Prize Picks, you could pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Okay, guys, we only have a little bit more time with Kianna Smith right now. All right, so Kianna, what was it like? 2022, you get the call from the Sparks, and now you're going to be staying close to home. What was that like?
That was really a dream come true. Like, especially because my dad's been a Laker fan our whole life. My uncle coached for the Sparks for a really long time, so I had so many ties to them. And before the draft process, you get a ton of interviews from different teams, and they didn't interview me not once. So I didn't expect the Sparks to pick me at all. I was expecting, I think, Indiana and Seattle and the Mystics interviewed me. So like, okay, one of them or probably maybe. But when the Sparks called my name, that was just one of the best moments in my life. Like my whole family was screaming. It was just amazing.
Wow. And then for you, did it matter at that point where you were going? Not only just for what team you were going to, but also where in the draft order? Was that something that like played a part in your?
Yeah, obviously you want the higher you want to go, like it just sounds better, but really at the end of the day, it's like fit, because you could go on a team where they're not keeping anyone and they just cut everyone. And so I really wanted to go to somewhere I had a shot, like I had a chance to make the team. So that was really important for me.
Gotcha. And then, I mean, talking about training camp today, right now too. So you head to training camp for the Connecticut Sun this year. What was that whole process like? I mean, I know they didn't go to the finals matchup last year, but they had a great run against the Liberty. So you're coming in to try for a spot on a team that is looking to win a championship. What was that like?
Yeah, I learned a ton. I think the level of expectation that Coach White had versus what I experienced at the Sparks is completely different. And you can tell why they are championship contenders this year. The focus that AT, DB have, and the leadership that they show, like they're a great team this year. And it was amazing to be a part of that and learn a lot from them. So,
and then, I mean, you kind of made somewhat of a similar commute. So back, I think it was 2021 for USAB, you're playing in that 3x3 tournament up in Springfield, Mass. 3-2 overall. You guys reached semifinals. Do you feel like playing in a 3x3 basketball tournament really does help your game when you guys go for a full 5?
100%. First of all, 3-on-3 is so tiring. It is the most tiring form of basketball I've ever played, but it helped me get in shape. I was in the best shape of my life after that. And it's so fun because you have to learn how to score quickly and score in small spaces. I mean, score within like 12 seconds. And you don't realize how long 12 seconds is until you play 3-on-3 basketball. So like once I got back to 5-on-5 and people are saying 10, 9, I'm like, oh, I have time. And then that 1-on-1 game and it definitely evolved for me after 3-on-3.
So what do you feel like throughout your whole basketball career, what would you say your identity as a player was?
I think everyone just would call me smooth.
Ooh, that's nice.
I'm super fundamental. I'm not going to do anything crazy, but I know how to score efficiently. And when you watch me, it's just smooth movements. It's not like powerful or anything. It's just really smooth. And that's what I've been described as my whole life.
That's honestly so impressive. I think that would be a nice little ego boost to be like, all right, well, she's smooth, she's natural. While I still have you too, I'm very curious about playing basketball in Korea too. So you come from some Korean descent. Do you speak Korean, and did that help?
I didn't speak much Korean before I went there, and now I actually do. So I spent 2 seasons there, just fully immersed in the culture, and I took lessons because I really wanted to be able to speak to my grandparents fluently.
Nice.
So I've learned so much, and obviously the fans, knowing that I'm Korean, they just appreciate that so much, and you can feel the love from them every single day. It's an amazing environment, and I loved my time there. Those girls are like my sisters, my second family, so I had an amazing experience.
So I was talking to Benija Laney about her experience playing overseas, and she said, like, the Liberty fans are crazy. And the Liberty just came out with a video saying how intense their fans are. But she said there's something about playing overseas where like the fandom of it all is so much more intense. Was that true as well for
No,
the
100%.
Mhm.
Like we would get off the bus and there's a line of fans and they give us gifts. Like I'm getting letters from them. I'm getting like cake and flowers from them. It's crazy. Those fans are amazing. Like I've
Oh,
never
that's
seen anything like
awesome.
it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I really don't want this to end, but guys, there's always more Kianna Smith. You have to check out the She's Always On podcast. I love it. I'm an avid listener. I can't wait for the next episodes. But I want to pick your brain as a basketball analyst and then as bringing in your hoops experience as well.
Okay.
Great matchups tonight on this Thursday evening. Dream versus Fever. At Fever, who you got?
I got the Atlanta Dream. I think that the Fever are still working out some kinks. Obviously, Fez Benley, she's not playing, and I think she adds so much to the Fever that they really need. And hopefully that the Fever can get it figured out, but I got Atlanta tonight.
Okay, love that. Storm versus the Wings in Dallas. Who you got?
This is going to be a good game. I think it's pretty evenly matched. But I think that I have Seattle. They're rolling right now. Skylar's finally getting back on a roll, and I just think that they got the upper notch tonight.
I like that. I like that. And then for this matchup, for a team that preaches we want 43s a game, you'd fit right into that.
Yeah, I would love that.
Versus Mercury. I believe it's in Phoenix. Who do you got?
This is a toss-up too because the Aces haven't been playing their best basketball. And Phoenix does have Brittany Griner back. So they have that size to defend Asia in the paint, a shot blocker. But I think tonight Phoenix's threes are going to be hitting, and I think Phoenix can get them.
Guys, this is Kianna Smith. You can check out more of her work on the She's Always On podcast. And if there's anything else you want to plug, now's the time. Locked On Women's Basketball listeners are very loyal. So anything you tell them to check out, they'll check out.
Nope. Everyone just go subscribe to the podcast. We have a ton of great content. This week we are talking about Olympics and have a great guest. So go subscribe.
Ooh, stay tuned. I can't wait to listen. Guys, thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first, second, or third listen of the day, but usually your first. This is Kianna Smith. Thank you so much for the time today. Check out She's Always On podcast. It's so awesome, and it's a real X's and O's breakdown of the game that you can't get anywhere else. So thank you so much, Kianna.
Thank you.